Chef Taylor here, and welcome back to another meeting of the Rooks to Cooks Lunch Club. Today we're going to be cooking up some shakshuka for lunch, so I'm excited to have all of you joining me. The very first thing we're going to need is our pan with a tight-fitting lid. If you're making lunch for more people than I am, you might need a slightly bigger pan, but I'm just cooking 3 eggs today, so this pan is plenty. I'm going to take my lid off for now, and you can see I've got all my mise en place already in its place, prepped up, ready to go. I have some minced garlic here. If you need a reminder or a refresher on how to mince our garlic or dice any of our vegetables, you can watch some of my earlier videos where I walk you through all of those knife skills. The main thing to remember is make sure you've got someone who's there to supervise you and tuck those fingers in so they're going to be safe when you're using your knife. I've also got my diced onions, my diced peppers. Now I have half a red pepper and half a green pepper because that's what I have in my fridge, but if you've only got the one color, that's totally fine. I have diced tomatoes, my eggs that we're going to be poaching, and my spice blend here. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the cooking. First thing, I'm going to lift up my pan and turn my burner on. I want it on a medium-high heat. And I'm going to add some vegetable oil to my pan. Now, shakshuka is a Mediterranean dish, and it's basically a dish where the eggs are going to be poached in a tomato and oil sauce. So we're going to cook out our peppers, our spices, and all of those lovely aromatics, our onions and garlic, to get a really flavorful sauce, and then use that same sauce to cook our eggs in it. Poached eggs are a super classic brunch item. They make a great lunch, lots of extra protein. If you've got some beans or some cooked chickpeas laying around, you can add this into this recipe as well. First thing that's going to go in is my onions. And I want to cook these out and sweat them to intensify the flavor. And remember, sweating is just, we're going to cook them until they're nice and clear or translucent. We don't want any color on our onions, we just want to bring out that natural flavor. As I'm cooking, I'm always listening and feeling for what is happening in my pan. So I can hear right now that my pan is just starting to sizzle and those onions are starting to cook. I can smell the onions, and the smell is going to change to be a little bit less acidic once the onions are cooking and that acid that's in them is breaking down. And I can see the sizzle happening as well. The pan is nice and hot. We always cook our onions before we add our garlic because we want to make sure that the onions are fully cooked. The garlic is cut a lot smaller, so we want to make sure those tiny little pieces don't get burnt. Shakshuka is a dish that's really flexible, so if you've got other vegetables in your fridge that you'd like to add, like some greens, some kale, or some arugula, you can add those into your sauce as well, and you can even cook this in the oven. Once the sauce is made, if you're making shakshuka for a crowd, you can put all your eggs, nestle them into that lovely sauce, and pop it in the oven to get those eggs poached off. I'm going to cook my onions for another minute before adding my garlic, but you can see that they're already starting to change. They're getting a little bit clearer, and some of that water is cooking out of them. All right, we're ready for our minced garlic to go in now. Give this a stir. So I'm going to cook the garlic with the onions for about a minute before I go ahead and add my spices in. Now our spice blend for our shakshuka today has a few different things in here. We've got some ground cumin for that smoky, savory note. We have some chili powder, some smoked paprika, which is a little bit smoky as well. And I've gone ahead and added a little bit of cayenne because I like a little bit of heat with my shakshuka. So you can always leave that out if you don't like things too spicy. I want to add my dried spices into my pan with my onions and garlic to kind of wake up those spices and really bring out their flavor and give everything a nice stir. Cooking out the spices like this with the oil that's in the pan really intensifies those flavors, and it's going to make your kitchen smell amazing. Anyone that's lucky enough to be having lunch with you today is going to wonder what you're cooking, and they're going to be excited to share it with you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add my diced peppers in now. And give this all a stir. Essentially what we're making right now is a stew. So we want a nice chunky sauce filled with vegetables and lots of flavor that we're going to nestle our eggs into. I want to cook all this out until it's nice and soft, and at this point I'm going to add a little pinch of salt as well. All right, I'm gonna add my tomatoes in and then let this simmer for 5 to 7 minutes so all those flavors can really blend up, and then we'll be back in just a few minutes to add our eggs in. All right, chef, so my shakshuka sauce here has been simmering for about 5 minutes, and you can see it's really thickened up and all of those veggies are getting nicely blended together. We're ready now to go ahead and crack our eggs in. Now, like I said before, I've only got a few people that are at home with me today, so we're only gonna be making 3 eggs, but the recipe that we gave you in your booklet actually calls for 6 eggs. It just depends on how many people you're gonna be sharing lunch with. So I'm gonna make a little landing spot for my eggs in my shakshuka, and I'm gonna work on cracking them. I always wanna crack my eggs on a flat surface. That way I can make sure that no shell is gonna go into my bowl or anything I'm adding my eggs into. And once I get all my eggs in here, then I'm gonna pop the lid on, and it's gonna be that steam that helps my eggs to poach right in my sauce. You can serve this shakshuka alongside some toast or even some rice, whatever you're feeling like having for lunch today. All right, my 3 eggs are nicely nestled in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put my lid on, and we'll be back in just a few minutes when my eggs are done cooking. All right, see you in a few. Welcome back, chefs. I've had my eggs simmering in my shakshuka sauce for just about 3 minutes, so they're sitting at a nice medium. This is how I like my eggs, but if you want them a little bit stiffer, you can go ahead and cook them a bit longer. The lid just traps the steam inside, and that's what helps our eggs to poach inside our flavorful sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and toast up some bread to serve alongside my shakshuka for lunch, and I hope you're all looking forward to enjoying yours today. I'll see you next time for the next meeting of the Rooks to Cooks Lunch Club. Thanks, chefs.